Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. We're doing the top movies of 2023 today. Now this is a video series that I kind of started last year. Last year I did the top movies of 2022. I enjoyed making that video. It seems like a lot of you guys enjoyed watching that video. Kind of a recap. So the way I'm going to do it this year is I'm going to talk about, first I'm going to talk about some movies I haven't seen. So just to get them out of the way, these are movies like that I anticipate liking but I haven't seen yet. And then I'm going to move into movies that don't have a physical media release, but I feel like was worth talking about. And then we'll end the video where I talk about some of the movies that I do have from this year that got a physical release. And I can kind of show you guys the cover and, have my little physical copy of it. So to start off, I haven't seen Napoleon yet. Joaquin Phoenix and Ridley Scott directed it. Well, Joaquin Phoenix acted, Ridley Scott directed. I haven't watched that yet. I've heard it's really, really good. I really want to see it. I tend to like most Ridley Scott things, so I'm excited to watch that. Also, Killers of the Flower Moon. I'm a massive Martin Scorsese fan. I just haven't had the chance to get to the theater yet, being that it is like a 3.5 hour movie, and I'm a dad now. It's kind of hard to have that kind of time to yourself with your spouse or whatever to go out to the theater for 4 hours and catch a flick. But as soon as actually both of those, Napoleon and Killers of the Flower Moon, come on to Apple TV Plus, I'm definitely gonna watch those. I think those. Oh, Godzilla minus one. I really, really want to see Godzilla minus one. That just came out. Haven't had a chance to see it yet, so I'm putting out this video a little premature before I truly get to see all the movies. Towards the end of the month and stuff of 2024 or 2023. So I think that pretty much rounds out the stuff that I want to see but I haven't seen yet. In terms of stuff that I wanted to talk about that doesn't yet have a physical media release, is the David Fincher's The Killer. Now I really like that movie a lot. I will say ever since, let me think, I guess ever since Gone Girl, like Gone Girl I loved, but Mank I didn't care much for. When it first came out, I lied to myself and I said that I really liked it. Looking back, I don't remember really anything about that movie, so it didn't leave much of an impression on me. And The Killer was really good. Like, that's the thing about David Fincher movies is from a technical standpoint, from a filmmaker standpoint, they're all masterpieces. It's just a matter of, like, I feel like post Gone Girl, he's kind of choosing stories and characters and scripts that I'm not as into. So I like The Killer a lot. I think technically it was a masterpiece. Like the way he filmed it, the way the sound design is, as what's the guy's name, Michael Fassbender, as he's like listening to music in his AirPods. You switch from like a POV shot where you hear the music crisp and loud, and then when it goes into like a third person shot, then the music is quieter, and that sound design was impeccable as it's switching between the views. I liked the idea of how this killer is kind of like somewhat of a silent protagonist, but we hear his thoughts and he's narrating how cool he is, and then he keeps making mistakes. The movie had like a strong sense of irony, where it's like, he's this emotionless killer, yet he's involved in a revenge plot, and revenge involves emotion. He's an emotionless killer, but he listens to the Smiths, and they're like the most emotional band ever. They're emo before it had a name. So little ironies like that I really liked in the movie. It was just a matter of like, am I gonna go back and rewatch this movie ever? No, the characters were a little flat. It was kind of dull. The opening 20 minutes was an absolute masterpiece, but from then, yeah, I really latched on to characters, and the characters didn't really do it much for me in that flick. So liked it, didn't love it. But that being said, when it comes to physical media, if it comes to physical media, being that it's, a Netflix film, probably going to pick it up just to have a complete David Fincher collection, but I didn't 100% love it. I'd probably give it like an 8 or a 9 out of 10, just rewatchability. I don't know if it's 100% there for me. Oh my God, guys, unbelievable rookie mistake on my part. I did not mention Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is an absolute masterpiece. Eli Roth directed it. An incredible slasher film. The only thing that held me back from not remembering to talk about it was the fact that it wasn't in my little pile because it hasn't come yet to Blu-ray. If I had the Blu-ray with me, I'd be like, dude, this is one of the best of the year. Insane gore effects, great kills, had that kind of over the top gore, so over the top that it's hilarious, like fucking cartoonish gore. If you liked the Thanksgiving Grindhouse trailer, it's everything that we loved in that trailer, just in like a modern way. I think Eli Roth said that he likes to think of it like the original trailer for Grindhouse for Thanksgiving was like this weird lost film, and then this would be like the 2023 real slick remake. And I think that's a cool way to look at it. If you go in kind of expecting that, I think you're gonna have a great time. But yeah, Thanksgiving kicked ass. I had to cut in. I know I said earlier in the video that if I forgot anything, I will put it in the description, but I just want to own my terrible mistake before you guys cancel me. It's unforgivable that I was almost going to put Thanksgiving just in the description down below. We had to get this on video that I love Thanksgiving. And it had the Misfits at the very end. Spoilers, I guess. I mean, it's just a song, but during the closing credits, we had "We're Eagles There" by Misfits. Like, juice me up, daddy. That's all I wanted. So anyways, have a good one, guys. Party on Wayne, drive safe, all that bullshit. You know how it goes. Then we have a horror movie called When Evil Lurks. That was absolutely astounding. I love that movie. I cannot wait for that to get a physical media release. It was put on to Shudder. It's an Argentinian horror film, and I loved it, man. It had some of the most absolutely stomach churning visuals. My wife and I were both watching it, and we're pretty like we've seen a lot of shit in our day, but there was multiple moments in that movie where our jaws were on the floor, could not believe what we were seeing. That movie it goes from 1 to 11 like so fast. Everything's crazy in that movie. Basically the plot of that is you have a demonic possession, but it's spreading like an infection. And so you're kind of following these characters who are trying to kind of stamp out that infection before it keeps spreading. It's insanely gruesome. I would say you have to have a strong stomach because some of the visuals are absolutely nightmarish, and that's coming from a seasoned horror pro. It was not pretty to look at in some scenes for sure. So I think that those are the big two just off the top of my head that I wanted to touch on, but they don't have a physical media release. I'm probably going to watch this video back and be like, oh, fuck, I forgot about that movie. If I do forget about a movie that I wanted to mention or something like that before we jump into the physical media releases, I'll put that in the description below. So check the description below after you watch this video, as you're watching this video, and see if maybe I put in information on a flick that I forgot to talk about right here. So this channel is very amateur, if you couldn't tell. I just kind of come in here, I turn the camera on, I talk about Blu-rays and movies in front of my movie shelf, and I don't organize my thoughts, I don't write scripts, I don't do any of that shit. So, I don't know, love it or hate it, I guess, I don't know. So, first one I want to talk about is Evil Dead Rise. Massive Evil Dead fan. I love every preceding Evil Dead film, and this was no different. I love this movie. I will say this is the weakest of the Evil Dead films, in my opinion. That being said, even the weakest Evil Dead movie, to me, is better than most horror movies. So I really love this flick. Had a lot of good gore. I love the apartment setting. How it was kind of like an old, dilapidated, shitty apartment. Lots of like good acting. The main girl that plays the mom, she actually does really good when she like becomes possessed and goes into full Deadite mode. But yeah, that's pretty much everything you want from an Evil Dead movie. Just it's the first one to take place outside of a cabin for the most part. And in spite of that, I think it actually kind of breathes a little bit of new life into the genre. The Evil Dead films, their genre all their own, right? But it kind of breathes new life into that. So I really like this flick. I'd recommend it if you like any of the other Evil Dead movies. Definitely worth a watch. The next one I want to talk about is a little complicated. So Skinamarink. I'm not gonna say that I'm ignoring the flaws in this film because I think that this movie could have easily, it's about 100 and let's see, it's about 100 minutes, right? Realistically, this only needs to be like a 70 to 80 minute movie, absolute maximum. There's so many just long shots of like up at the roof or down the hallway, and they're shot from these odd angles, and like, yes, it's unsettling, but when you have so many shots like that, it really does start to wear thin. That being said, the last 20 minutes of this movie is absolutely horrifying, and there's scenes sprinkled throughout that are really scary. But I'm just saying, asking your audience to pay attention at static shots for 100 minutes with just little sprinkles of creepiness here and there up until the last like 20 or so minutes, it's a big ask. And I think this movie's great. I just think it's flawed. I think that if it was shorter, a little bit tighter edited, I think this movie would be an absolute masterpiece because when it's scary, it's absolutely terrifying. But there's kind of a lot of boredom you have to sit through to get to those moments. So I would definitely recommend this movie, but tread really light. Know yourself. Do you like plot-driven movies? If the answer is yes, skip this one because it's very lean on plot but very thick on visuals. So if you like the art of film, artsiness, artsy fartsy, whatever you want to call it, if you like that, I would say definitely give it a watch, because there's a lot of really interesting shots. There's a lot of really spooky shit, but it's definitely it's an art house film. It's not a standard A to B plot with characters and dialogue and all that stuff that you come to expect. Jumping completely onto the other side of the spectrum, we have the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Another movie that I really loved. It does have some flaws. I think the soundtrack choices are absolutely dog shit. It's like the most overused songs in cinema were just used in this flick all over again. Songs like, Take On Me and The Battle Without Honor or Humanity, that was used in Kill Bill. Like, songs that from movies are used in this movie, and it's just like, Jesus, come on, can we get something a little more original? That being said, I've been a massive Mario fan since I was a kid, since I was playing the games on like Nintendo 64 and so on. So there's so many references in this movie and so many in-jokes and so many great little nuggets that I think as a Mario fan, it's impossible not to like this movie on some level. It was a lot of fun. Jack Black is a great Bowser. I don't think it needed that Peaches song sequence. It felt like at that point the movie was just Jack Black doing Tenacious D and not doing Bowser. Other than that, his performance is flawless. Jack Black as Bowser is great. Chris Pratt, I was a Chris Pratt, like, nah, I didn't want to hear Chris Pratt do Mario. As I was watching the movie, I could live with it. It was okay. Luigi, Charlie Day, absolutely flawless casting. Thought he was great. Anna Taylor-Joy as Princess Peach, flawless. And Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong, maybe controversial. I know some people hate Seth Rogen. I'm a Seth Rogen fanboy. Loved it. I was all in. So this is a lot of fun, especially if you have a kid and you want to kind of share Mario with your kids and all that kind of stuff. This is a great. It's fun. It's really fun. It's a really great movie. So I'd highly recommend that one. I had a lot of fun with that movie. Next, okay, this one's part of a double feature, so you probably know what's coming, but we have Oppenheimer. Another great movie. This is going to be the theme of the video, but flawed, right? So this is 2 hours and 45 minutes, I believe, off the top of my head. And I'm having trouble finding the runtime, but let's go with that. 2 hours, 45 minutes, right? Almost 3 hours. The first 45 minutes of this movie, I was absolutely confused and pissed off and could not believe what Christopher Nolan was doing to such an amazing story that should tell itself. And the reason I say that is because the first 40 minutes of this movie is edited like such a trailer montage, with even like the way the score just goes completely over what the actors are saying. I had subtitles on and I'm still trying to like hear what these actors are saying because the music was so overbearingly loud. And that was a problem that, Christopher Nolan had with his last movie with Tenet. I hated Tenet. Sorry, Nolan fanboys, you're not going to have a good time. I'm going to be really honest about my opinion on Christopher Nolan. I think he's a phenomenal filmmaker, but I think he's really starting to show his flaws. And I think that the first 45 minutes of this movie was edited so haphazard, like so like quick cuts and like trailer kind of shots, and then the music, that was the thing. I can get past some editing issues. The music was so loud during scenes when it did not need to be so loud. That being said, once we hit where we got about 2 hours left, things start going. He starts kind of working on the atomic bomb. Then, the music stayed loud, but then the movie's starting, the tension is rising. So you understand, it makes sense that the music's there. That, or maybe I just got used to it, right? But the first 45 minutes of this movie, when not a whole lot is happening other than setting up characters and who they are and all that kind of stuff, the music did not need to be so goddamn loud. I felt like an old man watching this movie, like, turn that down, Christopher Nolan, and the music's too loud. It's just, that was crazy. But the last 2 hours of the movie is phenomenal. Like, I love the last 2 hours of this movie. It completely kind of outweighed how much of a bad time I was having with the first act. I just wish, like, this would be one of my favorites of the year if it wasn't edited and so choppy, and it wasn't that music, man. I know I keep saying it, but just Jesus Christ, it was so loud. But once the tension ramps and all that, then it starts. Then the quick editing and the music, then it matches with the film, and I can get into it, and it's good. And there's certain sequences in this movie I'll honestly never forget. Like, the sequence. I'm trying not to spoil too much in this video, but the sequence when Oppenheimer kind of realizes what he's done to the world by his contributions to creating this bomb is one of my favorite scenes when he's at the like the public service meeting or whatever. That's one of my favorite scenes of any movie I've seen all year. That was absolutely masterful. The way you see the regret on his face, like, and the way this movie ends on such a haunting note, between the dialogue with him and another character. I'm not going to spoil. This movie's amazing. It's just it's really held back by that first act, man. That was I was considering turning it off. I'm really glad that I didn't, but that first 45 minutes, man, that was rough. Um, Next part of the double feature, the Barbie movie. It might be my favorite movie of the year. I loved it so much. So this movie I saw in theaters with my wife. This movie's a lot of fun. It's just really, I think that there's a lot of discourse online about like, oh, it's feminist, it's anti-men. Having watched the movie myself, I really do feel like it's pretty equal opportunity. It takes shots kind of at gender as a whole. I don't think it's very, I mean, for sure it's a Barbie movie, so of course there's femininity and all that kind of stuff, but there's nothing wrong with celebrating femininity. God, if I could even talk. There's nothing wrong with celebrating femininity, and I think that the jokes were funny enough that, like, as men, we can laugh at ourselves. We don't have to be like, hey, they made a mean joke about me. It's fun. It's a fucking Barbie movie. If this was the worst of your problems as a man, that you fucking got roasted in the Barbie movie, you need to fucking grow a pair of balls, my guy. You're fine. You're gonna be all right, okay? We're gonna be fine. Look in the mirror, coach yourself up. The Barbie movie won't affect me. Tell yourself that every morning. You're gonna be okay. Once you get past that, there's actually a lot of really funny and really like thought-provoking things that are said in this movie. I don't know. I really liked it. And aside from the content, the set design and the way it looks so like plastic and everything, and when they're in Barbie world, was absolutely amazing. I think if this doesn't get some kind of recognition for set design, probably gonna shit my pants and riot. So really like the Barbie movie. I was a big fan. I think if it's not my favorite, it's one of my favorites of the year. And I did not think I was gonna say the Barbie movie was my homeboy, but here we are. It's been a weird year. Next up, another movie that's flawed, but I love it. Beau is Afraid. This movie is fucking bananas. That's the only way I can describe it. The first hour and a half of this movie is an absolute masterpiece. It's the first hour and a half of this movie is my favorite piece of content from Ari Aster, and I loved Hereditary and I loved Midsummer. I love the first 90 minutes of this movie, man. When you're really in his head, seeing how he perceives the world through his social anxiety and how everything is just chaos. And as somebody who I have a lot of anxiety, so this movie really fucking like did it for me. I'm like, yes, 1,000 times yes, that's how it is. And it was amazing. It does lose track a little bit. If you've seen it, you know I'm not gonna get into too many spoilers, but he goes into the forest at one point, and then we have a 40-50 minute sequence of him in a play, and I'm not going to say much more than that, but I think that completely grinds the movie to a halt, and I understand what it's going for in that scene. It's not that I didn't understand what that scene meant, but it just completely it needed to be cut down. It completely ground the film to a halt. Then when we're out of the woods, literally and figuratively, and he then it gets really good again. So it's like just great movie, 3 hours. Again, a lot of these movies this year were really fucking long, which I'm not opposed to. I really like long movies. But this probably could have been 2 hours and been better, I think. That being said, spending 3 hours with this character, I still think he's a fantastic character. I still think there's a lot of fantastic scenes on the way. At the end of the day, I still think very highly of this movie. It's just it's got some flaws. There's one thing at the end. I'm not gonna say much, but there's something in the attic, and I get what they were going for. I think it was really stupid, but I understood. So just if I was directing this film, I would cut down the forest scene and take that thing that's in the attic and portray it in a different way, because I think what they're trying to portray is smart, but portray it in a different way that's not as like, what the fuck. And I think you have a masterpiece on your hands. As it stands right now, I would say this is like a solid 8 out of 10. Really, I loved so much of it, but there are some hindrances. All right, now we're getting into the big boy movies, okay? These ones are competing with Barbie, so you know they're fucking good, right? So talk to me. probably better than Barbie. Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, this movie kicks Barbie's ass, but only barely. But talk to me, dude. I love horror. The name of the channel is Horror Business Productions. I love horror flicks. This is everything I've ever wanted out of a horror movie. Really smart storytelling, inventive camera use, genuinely scary in a few scenes. The ending is one of the best endings I've ever seen in my entire life, and that's no exaggeration. Like, genuinely, the ending of this movie, the last 2 minutes, masterpiece, solid gold, beautiful. Can't wait for the sequel. The fact that this movie was directed by a couple YouTubers blows my mind, because here I am on YouTube trying to be a director. That's inspiration, baby. But yeah, talk to me. This movie kicks ass. Like, I feel like pretty much everybody could watch this movie and have a good time and be scared and be like, holy shit, that was a ride. This movie is truly a ride. So yeah, you haven't watched it and you're a horror fan, absolutely talk to me. Okay. Now, this one came out early in the year. When this one came out, I was like, there's no fucking way anything's going to be better than this movie. I still feel like this movie's top three. Really, really good. Some days I might be like, hey, yo, that was the best movie of the year, and that was Infinity Pool. Now, Brandon Cronenberg, this guy's off to a hell of a start. He's David Cronenberg's son, and so he explores a lot of the same themes as like Cronenberg films, and has like body horror and weird sexual stuff that's not sexy at all. It's just really gross. Very Cronenberg. The father and the son share those same qualities as filmmakers. And this movie, it kind of doubles down on everything that he has done previously. It's gross. It's weird. It's odd, sexual stuff that's not fun to watch at all. But really, 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 really good. So what this movie is about is you have these two. Well, no, she's already there. So this guy, Alexander Skarsgård, amazing actor, goes to an island with his wife. And while they're on the island, they get into some drunk driving. They meet up with Mia Goth over here, and then they accidentally hit somebody. And on this island, hitting somebody is a crime punishable with death, and the family of the person that you kill gets to kill you. But if you're rich, like he is, you can buy yourself a clone of yourself, and then you just have to sit and watch the family kill the clone of yourself. So then you kind of have this movie that's like, hey, what's to stop rich people from doing whatever the fuck they want? Hey, that's a good theme for like what happens every day in America, right? So really smart commentary here, just about the kind of how rich people just get to run wild. And I thought this movie was fantastic. This movie had some incredibly gruesome gore effects, some really trippy sequences I'll never forget. The masks, if you know, you know, that these people wear are permanently burned into my memory. You know, he's directed Antiviral, was his first movie. Possessor was his second, and this is Brandon Cronenberg's third movie. I think Possessor is better, but I think this is number two, and then Antiviral will be number one if I'm ranking his films so far. But I loved Infinity Pool. It might, I think it might be better than Talk to Me. Shit, it might be better than the Barbie movie. I don't know, guys. This is a struggle. So, anyways, what were your guys' favorite movies of 2023? What'd you guys think of my list? Do you think I'm wrong? I love being told that I'm wrong. I love to argue. So if you want to do that in the comments, I will argue with you very respectfully. I don't name call. I'm not going to call you a bitch or a shithead or anything like that, unless you're being a bitch or a shithead. But anyways, I've gone on too long. This is a crazy video. We're talking about movies. Let's have a good time. You know, party on Wayne. Drive really safe, have a good night, and that's going to do it for today.